All right, so I don't normally talk very much about polls and that kind of thing because honestly, it's kind of boring to talk about. It's the run of the mill politics. I like to comment things that have a little bit more cultural perspective to them. Um, but we have seen Trump surging recently in the polls, and I think it is worth noting, especially because it is ticking up in a lot of the communities that the mainstream media wants to vilify Trump too. And so it really goes to show that a lot of the TDS anti-Trumpism that we see in the mainstream narrative is truly backfiring on Democrats, especially in the midst of all of the protests, and by protests I mean riots, all of the unrest, all of the violence. People are not looking to Joe Biden as somebody that is going to be able to handle this. And we just had the RNC, and in the wake of it, we see that Trump's approval rating among black voters jumped 9 points during the GOP convention. That is a pretty massive boost. And they say that if the Republicans get, I think it's 15% of the black vote, then there is absolutely no way that the Democrats can win. And so I think as Trump wins over more and more black voters, and we see more and more prominent black conservatives coming up, people like Billy Prempeh and Kim Klacik, and of course we have the Candace Owens and the Kanye Wests and those who have been around for a while. But we're also seeing people like Errol Weber out here in California, who, unfortunately, I live just north of his district. But if you live in CA 37, you got to vote for Errol Weber. He's awesome. I actually was able to talk to him at the Save the Children's March here in Hollywood just last weekend, and he was just as polished as I thought he would be. He's awesome. But there's been a really large rise in black conservatives, and they're starting to really gain ground. And I think this is a very, very good thing. And it almost seems more natural. I've never really quite understood how the Democrats have had such a stranglehold on the black vote for so long, especially when you look at a lot of the values of the black community. It's a very Christian community typically, and they're not really all that progressive. I remember back when they tried to pass, what was it, Prop 8 out here. They tried to do gay marriage out here in California. This was before 2015. I think it was back in 2008 or something. And it failed here in California, and everybody was really surprised. And they looked for all the reasons, and they found out that it was mostly because the black people in California voted against it. And so they were kind of in this rock and a hard place where they wanted to condemn whoever it was that denied gay marriage rights, but they also didn't want to condemn the black voter base. So this is really interesting here. So this is from the Washington Examiner. President Trump's approval rating from black and Hispanic voters rose amid the Republican National Convention. 24% of registered black voters approve of the job Trump is doing, a rise of 9 percentage points from a poll taken earlier in August, a Hill Harris X poll found. Now, we've already had, actually, 24 is actually one of the lower numbers that we've seen in some earlier polls recently. We have seen from Rasmussen, Emerson, and I'm trying to remember the third one. Anyways, not that important, but so some of the better ones. Rasmussen does tend to lean more pro-Trump, but they also got the Trump election right in 2016. Emerson is known to be one of the best polling centers out there, and like I said, I forget the third poll that ticked black support for President Trump above 30%, but all three of them put black support for Donald Trump above 34%. Now, this one has it at 24%. So it's hard to really tell exactly what the numbers are going to be, especially when you see how difficult of a time the media and polling centers actually have reaching Trump's base and getting people to speak openly about their support for President Trump. And a lot of that has to do with the cancel culture and the absolute vilification of Donald Trump in the media, and not only the vilification of Donald Trump, but the absolute castigation of anybody who supports him. So I think you have a lot of people, especially in the black community, I would assume, that are very, very reticent to admit that they support President Trump. They might do it alone in their families where they'll talk about it and that kind of thing. But we're starting to see more and more come out and openly support President Trump. So the poll showed a positive movement for the president's approval rating among Hispanic voters, 32% of whom approve of the job Trump is doing as president, a rise of 2 percentage points. In 2016, the president won 8% of the black vote, which is about in line with the average of what Republicans typically tend to win from the black community. So if you're going from 8% to 24%, you're talking about a 300% increase. That is a massive increase of black support, and you're seeing there is a massive success in both the Brexit movement and the walk away movement. So in 2016, President Trump won 8% of the black vote and 29% of the Hispanic vote. Trump also won 49% of the suburban vote to Hillary Clinton's 45%. However, the 2018 midterm elections told a different story, with Democrats flipping suburban House seats. And the suburbs are a little bit more complicated. I mean, I'm from the suburbs. I'm from the suburbs in the South in Georgia. But you can see a lot of people that are in the suburbs, they're kind of like default Republicans. Kind of like how a lot of young people are sort of default Democrats because they live in the culture that is all leaning left, and so they're just informed that way, and so they just kind of become default Democrats, but they aren't really politically engaged. There's a lot of people in the suburbs that have that inversion, where they're sort of default Republicans. And all they see is they turn on the news and they see Trump, or they see the media bashing Trump, or they see clips of Trump maybe out of context saying something bombastic or something that kind of turns them off or irks them, especially with suburban females, suburban housewives, and things like that. But as the riots are starting to grow, as the riots continue to burn and they start moving out towards the suburbs, you're going to start seeing a lot more people in the suburbs saying, you know what, I do not want this coming to my back door. I mean, sure, you can criticize that for its NIMBY elements, the whole not in my backyard area aspect of it all. But I don't think that Biden is really going to hold the suburbs when it comes down to it, because the violence is going to, like I said, the violence is going to start scaring off the suburban voters. And also, I think it's just Biden's going to reveal himself. We haven't even had any debates yet. And so we have a debate scheduled for September 29th, coming up in about a month here, it's absolutely insane that we already have people sending in mail-in ballots, and we haven't even had a single presidential debate yet. So I think they're going to see Biden and they're going to see Trump in the debates, and this is what always tends to happen. You have these people that are kind of politically disengaged, and they kind of go with the flow of the media. But then they're going to see President Trump on stage, and he's going to be saying things that are not what the media says about him. It's going to pull the wool from their eyes, so to say. And I think we're actually seeing that. It's the exact same effect that we're having right here with the GOP convention, which the ratings for the RNC absolutely blew the DNC out of the water. And I mean, if you looked at the production value, it looked like the Democrats weren't even trying. It looked like amateur hour at the Apollo. Meanwhile, Trump came out and after his speech put on the most incredible fireworks display I've ever seen. Had a very beautiful setup. Everything was well produced. They really actually put in effort. The Democrats, it was almost insulting how little effort they actually put in to their convention. And if I was a Democrat, I'd kind of be like, is this really supposed to win me over? Is this really it? And then I turn to the RNC and I see what they're doing, and they're putting people from all walks of life up there that are all espousing pro-America values. It was a message of hope. Meanwhile, the Democrats, all they have to run on is Trump is bad, Orange Man bad, he's a fascist, he's a dictator, he's literally Hitler and all that nonsense. And then they go and they actually get exposed to Donald Trump. And they see that everything that they have been told about him is an outright lie. And all of the things that they thought they hate about him were most likely taken out of context. Or, yeah, maybe he did say some brash things that they didn't like. But at the end of the day, those kind of rough, brutish characteristics of Trump are outweighed by what he brings to the table, especially when you're talking about foreign policy and his negotiating skills and how he's able to keep us out of all kinds of new foreign wars. So that's a huge thing for a lot of people. And that's also something that I think is winning over a lot of Democrats as well, because the Republicans, I was actually just kind of going at it with somebody on Facebook about that, where it was a pretty desperate plea to try to get us to vote for Joe Biden, for conservatives to vote for Joe Biden. And he was like, well, why not? He's pro-war. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Do you really think that the Trump crowd, that the Trump supporters are pro-war? One of the things we love about him is he's not gotten us into any new wars. Trump completely rebranded the Republican Party. And so you can't have this view of Republicans that's set in the age of George W. Bush and try to project that onto the Trump era Republicans, because the Trump era Republicans, Trump kind of came in with a wrecking ball and wrecked the Republican Party. I don't mean that in a negative way either. I mean, he's wrecked it, but he's rebuilt it in his own image, and his image was far better than the Republicans of past. So it was really a service that he did to Republicans to come in there and do that. And I got a feeling he maybe could have even done the same damn thing with Democrats if he just, if he decided to go the left wing route. I think he has the capacity to do that. I'm not saying that he has the willingness to do that, because I do think that he stands for exactly what he believes in, and he says exactly what he means. So, but the way that he kind of blew apart the Republican Party and reformed it in the populist mode, what he did was he went after the establishment, and the establishment has now either gotten on board with Trump or they're now out there supporting Biden because they know that Donald Trump is a threat to the establishment. And so I think he was more than willing to make allies and people who would, we've got all the Durham investigation and all the stuff that's, detailing corruption and that kind of thing. I got a feeling some of these people, some of the Lindsey Graham types that were part of the establishment that are now pro-Trump, they probably had to do something for Trump in terms of letting him know what was going on with the establishment and helping him in his investigations and that kind of thing in order to kind of grant themselves clemency under Trump. So let's see. The Hill-Harris-X poll surveyed 2,861 people from around the United States between August 22nd and August 25th and has a margin of error of plus or minus 1.83 percentage points. So if you have an under 2 margin of error, that's going to put it at least, at minimum, 22% support for the black community, which if they're all going to vote, then it is going to be a hands-down landslide for Donald Trump, and the Democrats just don't stand a chance. So Trump's other approval rating sits at... I was in the right place. Trump's overall approval rating sits at 44%. Again, I still think that's probably a little bit lower than what it actually is. I think you have a lot of people that really just are not confident in speaking openly about their support for Donald Trump. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that number 10 points higher. Now, again, I'm just pulling that number out of thin air, so, there's nothing scientific about it. Taking that one on faith. But a loss of so he's lost 1 point, according to the Hill, sorry, I thought it was going to be Hill-Harris-X poll. His approval numbers decreased by 1 point among registered Republican voters. While both Democratic nominee Joe Biden and Trump are targeting the suburbs, suburban voters disapprove of the president's job performances at 58% compared to 42% approving. Well, once these rioters start really getting to these suburban communities and the news actually is unable to avoid showing it, I think that number's going to change. And again, I still think that we also have, a lot of the default Republicans, when it comes down to it, they're going to get in that booth and they're going to pull the lever for Donald Trump. And we're starting to actually see, though, I mean, we've seen this ultimate confidence from the Democrats for the longest time that they are going, that there's no way Donald Trump is going to win. He's down 15 points in the polls and this and that. And making the same mistakes that they made in 2016. And we can see this from Breitbart here. Michael Moore demands Democrats wake up about Trump gaining on Biden. This is on the candidate, not Russia. Which is, as much as I can't stand Michael Moore, and as much as I don't understand how he understands Trump America so much but still hates it so much, to me that doesn't make any sense. Most of the people that hate Trump actually just don't understand Trump. But he seems to actually understand it and for some reason still doesn't like it. I mean, I guess he's just a dyed-in-the-wool socialist. So, far-left documentary filmmaker Michael Moore has demanded his followers wake up about President Donald Trump gaining on and even leading Joe Biden in some election polls, saying you can't blame this on the PO, the post office, or Russia. So, I do appreciate that he is trying to strip away all of the excuses that the Democrats are going to lean on, that they're going to run to when Trump ultimately does win re-election. So he says someone needs to pull the fire alarm now. Where are the stories about Trump gaining on Biden? Below's a poll from Friday in Michigan. Last week, Trump polled within 4 points of Biden. Now in one poll, Trump is ahead of Biden in Michigan, 47-45. Yet so many Dems are convinced Trump will lose. Danger. And so he shows this political polls here. I have no... I don't know whether this is a accurate poll. I don't know what their methodology is or anything like that. But the Planet of the Humans producer, sorry, Planet of the Humans producer also compared the latest polling data to the same time in 2016 when Donald Trump was lagging behind Hillary Clinton, only to eventually pull off a stunning victory. And yet, I mean, he actually predicted that that Trump would beat Hillary. He actually had his finger on the pulse of America at the time, which is what surprises me so much, is that Michael Moore is able to have his finger on the pulse of America and still just doesn't seem to get it, despite the fact that he understands. There's that video of him saying that that Trump winning was going to be the biggest FU, and he went on before that. I forget exactly what he was talking about, but it almost sounded like he was giving a Trump campaign speech. It sounded like he absolutely understood the benefits to Donald Trump, yet for some reason he still wouldn't accept them. So that's why Michael Moore is a really confusing person when it comes to Trump, because he seems to have some sort of understanding and almost a sense of admiration for a lot of what Trump talks about and what Trump wants to do, yet he just will never bring himself to vote for the guy or to support anybody with an R next to their name. So I really don't understand Michael Moore's, his incoherency on Donald Trump. So he says, check this out. During the same week in August, but 4 years apart, in 2016, Hillary was way ahead of Trump. But this past week, in some swing states, Biden's lead is less than what Hillary's was. And you can't blame this one on the post office or Russia. This is on the candidate and party. At least he's holding the Democrats to account. And, when Trump does win, we'll be able to go back and say, listen, Michael Moore said it. So we see RCP averages, August 24, 2016. In Wisconsin, Hillary was up by 11 and a half points. Well, she lost Wisconsin. Pennsylvania, she was up 9.5 points. She lost she lost all of these states, actually. She was up 9.2 in Pennsylvania, 1.7 in North Carolina, 3.6 in Florida, 8 in Michigan, 4.8 in Ohio, and I guess there was more to it than that. So I guess I didn't even see that he had a bottom portion juxtaposing it to where we're at today. So we can see here, this year, in Wisconsin, Biden is up only 6.5, so that's down almost half of what Hillary was up, and all of these are about half the lead that Hillary had, or supposedly had. For some reason, Biden's up more in Florida, which is weird. But yeah, it does not look good for the Democrats. And Michael Moore's concerns come just days after he warned Democrats that enthusiasm for Trump is off the charts in many parts of America, while for Joe Biden, not so much. And not so off the charts is almost a bit of an understatement, while not so much is a bit of an overstatement. Nobody is excited about Joe Biden. I mean, the man barely knows what state he's in. And I don't know if you saw the thing that he put out today where he was talking about coronavirus deaths, and it was just a bunch of gibberish. He was like, what did he say? It was something. He's like, no, in the past 100 years, the deaths and it's blah blah now it's been, it was completely nonsensical. It was absolutely incoherent. The guy can't string a sentence together. I don't know how anybody can have faith in this, or in Biden being able to actually carry the mantle if he does win the election. I think it's just the far left knows that they can walk all over him. And I think we have people that are moderates that are seeing that the far left is just going to walk all over him. And they're just saying, you know what, I might not like Trump, but I certainly don't want the far left taking over for Biden if I vote for him. So a vote for Biden essentially becomes a vote for the far left because he's going to get trampled by them. Let's see. So Moore's concerns come just days after he warned Democrats that enthusiasm for was off the charts. Moore wrote in a Facebook post, "Are you ready for a Trump victory? Are you mentally prepared to be outsmarted by Trump again?" Well, you better be, because Trump is sharp. Do you find comfort in your certainty that there is no way Trump can win again? Are you content with the trust you've placed in the DNC to pull this off? The Biden campaign just announced that he'll be visiting a number of states, but not Michigan. Sound familiar? I'm warning you almost 10 weeks in advance. The enthusiasm level for the 60 million in Trump's base is off the charts. For Joe, not so much. Despite being an admitted socialist and one of Trump's most fanatical opponents, Moore famously predicted Trump's victory in 2016, explaining that Trump's win would be the biggest FU in history from the left behind middle class. Oh, from the left behind middle class. So yeah, I think everything is trending upward, and Biden can't do it because he's now coming out and he is trying to tell people with a straight face that Donald Trump won't condemn the violence and that Trump is actually inciting all of the violence, despite the fact that everybody knows this is the far left. Everybody knows that this is the far left railing against Trump. So Trump is not inciting anything. And we also know that staffers from the Biden campaign were actually paying to bail rioters out of jail, and so was Kamala Harris. And now Kamala Harris has also been saying something along the lines of like needing to double down and that they shouldn't stop, they shouldn't let up. I think that was a talk with Stephen Colbert. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check on that, but I don't think that they bet on the wrong horse is essentially what happened. The Democrats opened Pandora's box by trying to placate and try to win over the far left. And it has become a runaway train that they are stuck aboard. They cannot get off. And a lot of people are just sitting there screaming for it to stop, but it won't. The riots keep going on. You even had, Mayor Ted Wheeler is the biggest pansy in government right now, but we can just see from him how he actually went out and started marching with them, and well, now they're actually there protesting his place, demanding he resign. There is no appeasing these people because all they want to do is watch America burn. And so a lot of people, I think in the suburbs are going to wake up to this too, realize that Trump is that Biden has gotten on board with all of the people that just want to see America burn, and it's not going to be a winning strategy for Democrats. So anyways, guys, that's the video. If you like this, please go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, share this video. Let people know what's going on. And also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. And if you're interested in contributing to the channel, there are links to my Subscribe Star, Patreon, and PayPal down in the description below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.